5-year-old Madeleine Lother went on a play date to this trampoline park on a Friday afternoon in January. She climbed to the top of this rope, got scared and loosened her grip, landing on this large knot at the bottom.
She went in the foam pit and was continuing to play with her friends. She was crying and holding her private area.
At home, Madeleine's mother saw the scrape and called the doctor for advice, but she tells me the injury seemed to be minor.
We kept checking it. I washed it. We bathed her, but it was kind of like a non-issue after that.
Yeah, and by the end of the day, there was no bleeding. It seemed like a full recovery, really, yeah.
But that Monday, Madeleine mentioned her injury to staff at Landell's Elementary School, who called Child Protective Services. That evening, several police officers and a social worker came to the Lothers' home.
They just all came into the house, and I was kind of like pushed to the side.
Bob Powell is the Lothers' attorney.
When these people came to the door, they should have told the mother by law why they were there, what the claim was.
Danielle Lother says the police would not say why they were there, that they took Madeleine outside, questioned each parent separately, questioned their other daughter as well.
Finally, I said, oh, is this about, after much thinking, is this about the bleeding vagina? And they were like, yes, you got it, and kind of like sarcastic and not very nice.
Danielle Lother tells me she explained to the officers what happened on that climbing rope, offered the name and number of a mother who was there at the time, described how the scrape had healed, but the police were not satisfied.
They say, okay, this is what's going to happen. We just called a paramedic where she's coming out here and we want to examine Madeleine's vagina.
Doug Lother tells me he objected again and again, but the officers persisted.
And I said to him, you know what, there's 3 of you here and you all have firearms and there's nothing I can do to stop you.
There, on the living room sofa, Danielle and Doug Lother helped the paramedic hold down Madeleine and take off her leggings.
Madeleine didn't want her pants off. She was squeezing her legs together, screaming, no, stop it, scratching, hitting, self-defense really for her.
The parents tell me the paramedic asked them to pull Madeleine's legs apart, asked Doug to shine a light. He used his cell phone and examined the girl for several minutes.
There wasn't even a mark on Madeleine. It had all healed. There was no blood, there was no cuts, there was nothing.
The police and paramedic left, but the Lothers say the incident has had a terrible impact on their daughter, that she's sad all the time. Her grades have plummeted. She has nightmares.
She's still so affected by it. So that's not good.
My research shows this should never have happened. The police and the paramedic violated their own guidelines, and police and EMS sources tell me this is not the way an investigation is supposed to go.
Mountain View Police Chief Max Bozell would not give me an interview, but his spokesperson emailed officers used their best judgment regarding a reported injury in a sensitive area on the child. As such, they called for a female paramedic to advise if there was an urgent need for medical attention. But police department guidelines on suspected child abuse cases say an officer should not detain a child involuntarily who is suspected of being a victim of child abuse solely for the purpose of an interview or physical exam without the consent of a parent or guardian. Child victims should not be interviewed in the home, and officers should defer interviews until a person who is specially trained in such interviews is available.
It's not something I've ever heard of happening in this way before.
I met forensic psychiatrist Dr. Charles Saldana at a convention at Moscone Center where he was a panelist. He has worked in several Bay Area counties.
We try and do things typically in the medical field in order to minimize the risk of trauma to people.
Santa Clara County Protocol, which covers Mountain View, requires police to bring potential child abuse victims to Valley Medical Center, where a pediatric sexual assault examiner is on call 24/7. As for the paramedic, her employer, American Medical Response, declined an interview and declined to tell me if the paramedic has been disciplined.
It's clearly inappropriate.
Peter Green, a retired San Francisco Fire Department paramedic now working as a consultant on EMS issues, echoes what the California EMS Authority told me. Sexual assault exams are not within the scope of practice for licensed paramedics in California.
They're not trained. They have very minimal training in sexual assault and even less training with children.